Hello everyone, welcome back to Weaving Web3. I'm here with Prabal, the co-founder of Avail, and we're here to talk about his project and why it's exciting, why it's new, and what you've got to look forward to. So, could you give us a little bit more of an intro?
Yeah, so hi, I'm Prabal. I'm from Avail. We are building a unification framework for Web3. We want to unify the entire Web3 ecosystem. So the thesis around what we build is basically that rollups are going to take over, and we are seeing the plethora of rollups coming up and building. When the rollups, what they are hungry for is what we call as data availability. So all of these rollups need data availability to help secure and scale up. And one of the products that we have been building for the last 3 years is Avail DA. It's a data availability focused blockchain, which has a scalable block space. But in this rollup centric world, there will be hundreds of different rollups, and this will lead to a lot of UX fragmentation. Mm-hmm. And for that, we are building Avail Nexus, which is a rollup coordination framework on top of Avail DA, which helps compose all these proofs together and helps interoperate between these rollups. And then we have Avail Fusion, which is how to add economic security onto the base layer. And together with these three products is what we call it as Avail Trinity.
Okay, awesome. So could you go a bit more into data availability? Because I know lots of projects recently are migrating to, let's say, Celestia because of their massive allowance for data availability. And what is the difference between your data availability between Celestia and stuff like that? And why would you choose build on your rollup compared to, let's say, I'm not sure if you're related with Dimension, but they are like a rollup. People can build up rollups on top of that. So how do you differentiate, and why would people want to, let's say, build with you compared to, let's say, other people?
Yeah, so essentially Dimension are a partner, right? So on Dimension today, you can go and build a rollup of your own, and you can choose whether to use Avail or any other alternate DA solutions. The reason why Avail stands out is it uses validity proofs as in the shape of K-G polynomial commitments, the same technology that EIP 4844 uses today, right? So if you want to use blob space, you need to use blobs, and these blobs need to get committed in a particular way. You can rely on fraud proofs, like many other solutions today. They rely on fraud proofs, but we think that validity proof is the way to go because you do not want to wait whether or not you have a fraud proof.
Absolutely.
And then you also want a very decentralized base layer. You don't want to have use another DA solution which is extremely centralized, because if you wanted a centralized solution, you could have had a DAC, a data availability committee, right? So if you want to get away from a committee and use a very secure decentralized layer which is powered by validity proofs, then come and use Avail.
Oh, that's really interesting. So why are your verification proofs, let's say, better than others? So the specific, let's say, technology-wise.
So essentially what we do is we erasure code the data so that it's harder to suppress parts of it, and then use a K-G polynomial commitment. What it means is that once you have the commitment to the data, you can do data availability sampling. This is one of the superpowers that we have on Avail. What that means is, if today even on Ethereum, where you have the EIP 4844 and you have blob commitments, the same K-G commitments like that ones that we use, but to know whether the data is available or not, you have to run a full node.
Yeah.
And running full nodes are hard.
Expensive.
It's very expensive, right? So on Avail, you have data availability sampling. What that means is you can run a light client, you can sample bits and parts of the data, and then get a very high amount of guarantee that the data is indeed available. And that is one of the powerful unlocks that we do for consumers on top. They don't need to run a full node. They don't need to wait for fraud proofs. They don't need to rely on committees. They have a secure base layer which is decentralized, which is validity proof driven. They can check it for themselves. They don't need to rely on the cryptoeconomic security alone. They can have cryptographic evidence that the data is actually available.
Okay, wow. So you're basically reducing the load on anyone to have access to your let's say, programming. So, and also, I think it's important to mention is that for me as a user, or a developer, why would I choose and what could I build that I couldn't build on anywhere else?
So essentially, that's the entire rollup thesis. So what you want is, if you have a single blockchain solution, then you build applications on top, and these all applications fight among each other for blob space because there is limited amount of supply of compute, let's say, but a huge amount of demand. And no matter what the technology is, let's say it's the best of the technologies, then also the load and the congestion is going to come into play, especially where there are shared resources that are coming to play. That is where the roll-up thesis begins. What it says is that you can have a particular application, and that is where the application-specific roll-up thesis comes up, which is what we are very bullish upon. So you have a roll-up, you take entirety of your application computation off-chain and have a provable, valid verification, verifiable, proof on the base layer. Now, what these roll-ups can then do is then talk to each other either for synchronous assumptions or using asynchronous composability. We think that both in some bits and pieces are going to be relevant, but we are very bullish on asynchronous ones because that's how Web 2 today scales. You have different microservices which all talk to each other in a asynchronous manner, but the user, it's as if it's a composed single application. It's atomic, it has a very integrated experience, but it's all asynchronous.
So you're providing the unification of lots of different applications together. So you have that, let's say, shared security, shared information, and also if you wanted to tell anyone out there why you would want to build and what, let's say, at this hackathon at ETH Global, what could people offer you too?
Yeah, I think we have already seen hackers, building awesome applications as roll-ups. There have been many people who are, new to the space, and for them, building an application on a shared generic chain is more beneficial. And that is, of course, the way to go. Because when you start, you want to start off as part of a bigger blockchain that you have, so that you have access to the shared liquidity, you have access to the shared developer code base, the entire ecosystem there. But when you grow, you have a huge amount of activity on your application, you would now start to feel the brunt of the resource requirement here, the shared congestion that you are going to face. Then you might want to take that application off-chain and have a roll-up on top. There are fantastic SDKs which are building up. You have a Arbitrum Orbit today here. You have a Polygon CDK. You have a ZK Sync Hyperchain, Starkware Madara. You have all this plethora of applications, specifically the dimensional one that you mentioned. We have Stacker. We have Sovereign SDK. So depending on whether you want an EVM compatible chain, you want a very specific virtual machine of your own, whether you want a specific database structure and so on, you have this huge amount of choices. The choices are only going to mature, and then it will be as easy as deploying a smart contract. Today, it will be very easy to deploy a roll-up.
Wow, that's amazing. This is so, my head is about to explode because all this information is really exciting because I think many people will say, oh, roll up this, roll up that, but they don't actually understand the technology behind it. So what you've given me and probably many other people there is the insight of why this technology is revolutionary. And if you've got anything else you would like to say about the project, feel free. Otherwise, I really appreciate you coming to this podcast, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I think the last things to say is that Avail mainnet is coming very, very soon. There's an incentivized testnet which we are about to wrap it up. So now might be a good time to be the last tranche of people who start using it. Take a look into our Avail vision. Take a look into our Avail Uncharted program, where there is a lot of exploratory projects that we keep on doing, and we can be involved and get incentivized for it. So come build with us, and let's make a roll-up centric future.
Awesome. Thank you so much.